Okay, so good morning. So thanks for joining me today for the cover letter workshop. We'll go over different formats of cover letters, what to include in a cover letter, and then we'll talk a little bit about how to target your cover letter and also how to target your resume to a job posting. So at any times, if you have questions, just unmute yourself and ask the questions because I may not be able to see your hand since I'm presenting by myself here. All right. So the question is, when applying for a job, should you always include a cover letter with your resume? What are your thoughts? You can just put it in the chat, yes or no. What do you think? Okay, so looks like more people put yes than no. So that is pretty much correct. You always want to include a cover letter unless the posting says no, you don't need to include a cover letter. But cover letters essentially is your first impression, because some employers read the cover letter first, some read the resume first, and some don't even look at the cover letter. So you don't know exactly who's looking at your cover letter, if they are, if they're not. So it's always important to include it to make sure that if they are reading it, then you definitely can stand out. So it helps you create that first impression. It helps you to build rapport, and we'll talk about how to do that. Helps you tell a story. So a lot of times, for example, if there's a gap in employment, some people are able to tell that story about why there's a gap in their cover letter. Normally, if you were just to submit a resume and then employers would see a gap in your resume, there's nowhere to say on your resume why there's a gap, right? But in the cover letter, you can always tell a story about why there's a gap, or there's other things that you want to share that maybe you can't include on a resume, because the resume is a very formal document, whereas a cover letter can be a little bit more personable. And for some positions, it's important because it may show your writing skills, especially if there's a position where you have to do a lot of documentation, or even if, let's say, if it's a communications position or something like that, it definitely shows your writing skills. So just a few stats: 83% of HR professionals say cover letters are important. 74% of recruiters prefer to receive job applications with cover letters. 72% of recruiters expect cover letters, even if they are optional. So if the posting says cover letters are optional, again, always include it. If it says cover letters optional, only 35% usually attach a cover letter. And if it says it's required, only 38% submit a cover letter. So obviously they're not reading the instructions, and that's really important. Anytime you look at a job posting, look at it very carefully. If it says to include something, then make sure you include it, because a lot of times, especially if it's an internship, they may ask for transcripts. Now, not too many companies do, but I know, for example, like SAP, they ask for transcripts. So always read very carefully what to include, because if you don't include certain documentation, then you won't be considered. So as I mentioned, the only time not to include a cover letter is if the application instructions specifically state not to include one, okay? That's the only time that you wouldn't include a cover letter. Okay, so we're gonna go through the different formats of the cover letter, including your heading. So your heading, you can use the same one that's on your resume. First name, again, you don't need your full address. Make sure your telephone, your email, and your LinkedIn profile. Date, something simple, but just make sure, and I've seen it quite a few times with students who are using the same template as a cover letter, but then they put the wrong date again. And an employer actually brought it to my attention on one of the candidates that submitted an application. So it was for an internship, and they pointed it out. They said, oh, this student wasn't very careful. They put the wrong date in the cover letter. And she actually said, yeah, I'm actually not going to look at this person because I'm looking for someone with strong attention to detail. And so she didn't even move forward with that person. So it's really important, something as simple as the date, that you make sure it's the right date. Okay, when we talk about the recipient name and the title, you always want to try and find out who the hiring person is for that position. So how do you think you would find out who that is, if possible? Anyone can speak out. How would you find out who the hiring manager is for that role? Anybody?
Yeah, that I tried.
Sure.
Yeah, so I mean, there are different ways you can search and look at your network, LinkedIn, whatsoever. But one of the ways that I've previously tried is to contact the company, whoever answers the phone reception, just say, I want to address my cover letter, to the hiring manager for this position. I was wondering if I can get their name, first name, last name to address my cover letter to. And normally that gets you somewhere.
Yeah, so that's one way for sure, is if you call the company and say, oh, I'm interested in applying for this position. I was just wondering who I could address my cover letter to. So that's a possibility for sure. It's a good possibility. What's another way?
Sometimes it can be on the job posting on the company's website.
Yeah, so sometimes it'll be listed on the job posting. So again, make sure you read it carefully, because it'll say sometimes address your cover letter to this person. How else? What's everybody using to find people?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, yes, for sure. So how you would do that is go to the company page. Let's just say you are applying for a marketing position. If you go to the company page and you search all employees on LinkedIn, and then you filter by job title, you can just put, for example, marketing. And then a lot of times, obviously everyone who has marketing in their title will come up, and a lot of times it'll say marketing director, because on the job posting, it might say, this position reports to the marketing director. So if you go to that company page and you just filter by job title and you put in marketing, there might be someone that has the job title marketing director, and then you can address it to them. So that's usually a good way to do it, is search on LinkedIn on the company page. Hopefully it'll say, if you can find out what department or anything like that from the job posting, then that might help in terms of the filter. So if you're able to find someone, always address your cover letter using their full name, because we don't know right now, when we talk about gender inclusive writing, if they are considered male or female, or Miss or Mr. So for the new format, we just use their full name, just because you don't know for sure, okay? Do not use dear sir or dear madam or to whom it may concern. Okay, that's the old way of addressing a cover letter. So don't do that anymore. And I still see it sometimes with students who are writing cover letters. If you can't find the person, always just use dear hiring manager or dear human resources manager or something like that. Okay. So any of that information, you definitely, hopefully, can find on LinkedIn, though, of who's hiring or who's the hiring manager. Or if you have someone who's working in the company, obviously you can reach out to them and ask them who the hiring manager is for this role. Any questions on that, on finding the recipient or addressing the recipient? Okay. So RE, sometimes some people put RE or regarding, and this is where you can list the job title. So for example, if you're applying for a business analyst, you could put regarding business analyst competition BA 123. That just saves a little bit of white space where you don't have to put it in your first paragraph. It just, because it just tells the reader this is what you're applying for, okay? But if you choose not to put it, you can also include it in the first paragraph of your cover letter. So this is a key. This first paragraph is kind of where you talk about why are you interested in the company and why are you interested in the position. Remember, a cover letter needs to be really targeted to the role you're applying for and the company you're applying for. Right? So what is the connection with the company? What is it about the company that attracts you? What is it about the position that attracts you to the position? Sorry, there was just some noise behind me. Okay, so again, if you've been referred to the position by someone in the company, you can definitely use their name. So talking about name dropping. So let's say you did an information interview with someone and you've kind of built a good rapport with them. go back to them and just say, is it okay if I use your name in my cover letter? If they say yes, obviously, then you can include their name and say you've spoken to this person and this is what excites you about the company, or this is what excites you about the role. It's always good to look at news articles. So even if you just Google the company, see what comes up, what news articles come up. Look at their website, see if they have a news page or an events page or anything like that. What is it that you can draw upon that will kind of make you stand out from the rest of the people applying for the same position? Remember, you don't want to include anything that's not relevant, either in anything in the paragraph. So it has to be very targeted to the position you're applying for. So here's a couple of examples that some students have written in their first paragraph. So this was actually, this first example, I'd like to submit an application for the EA position. Please accept my closed resume for your consideration. I just put that in. This was an actual first paragraph written by an MBA student after he came to the cover letter workshop and wrote an introductory paragraph. So as someone who's been playing FIFA since his teen years, I've seen EA bring soccer to the middle class in India in a never before seen scale. Very few games in the market get it right. To bring such a change in an economy sport consumption habit is no small feat. It requires a lot of innovation-led thinking, and that is the kind of workplace that piques my interest. The associate brand manager role at EA is a good fit for me since it requires a combination of my skills in marketing and my passion for gaming. So what he's done is he's used his own personal experience, but also what FIFA has done in his country, right? And he's kind of brought those two together to show why he's interested in FIFA, why he's interested in the position, okay? He ended up getting the role. And so obviously they liked what they saw in terms of his resume and his cover letter. Again, here's another example. Might be harder to see. So rather than just saying something simple like, heard about your posting from a friend, I'm excited to bring my skills to the business analyst position at WorkSafe BC. Again, this was written by an MBA student who applied for a business analyst internship at WorkSafe. And it says, it was impressive to see WorkSafe BC make asbestos as a priority since it was leading cause for occupational disease in 2017. This impacted me personally as I was an employee in an older facility that contained a significant amount of asbestos, but is able to witness firsthand the impact of WorkSafe BC's asbestos initiative. There was an increase in asbestos awareness by the employees, resulting in an asbestos policy change, thereby improving workplace health. It will be an honor to have the opportunity to contribute to the growth of WorkSafe's several initiatives, which will eventually lead to a province free of workplace injury, disease, and death. My engineering background, experience in process improvement, and strong analytical background will be an asset to the business analyst role. So again, he's taking his own personal experience, reading what WorkSafe has done, and then just kind of combining those. And last one. Posting on your careers page for sales with Frito-Lay caught my eye. I think that I'm an excellent candidate for this position. So again, not much personality there and not much personal connection. But another one who wrote, I'm a current MBA student with 10 years experience in sales and business development. I came across an article in Business in Vancouver and was impressed to learn about Frito-Lay's commitment to eliminate trans fat from its products. Last month at SFU Spotlight Session, I had the opportunity to speak with Terry Smith, product manager at Frito-Lay, about the number of community programs Frito-Lay supports. These outreach initiatives align with my values of giving back to the communities I have volunteered with the BC Boys and Girls Club for the past 5 years. So again, looking at Frito-Lay's website, seeing what they do in the community, how it resonates with you as a person. Again, you're trying to make that personal connection and what makes you stand out, because employers have told me they receive hundreds of applications for one posting. What makes one student stand out? Why is it that they want to work for our company? Okay, so you can kind of see in these three examples that that MBAs have written how it makes them stand out, or how at least it shows why they're really interested in the company. It shows they've done their research. It shows them, the employer, yeah, I'm actually very interested in what you're doing. Okay, any questions on that first paragraph or those examples? No? Okay. So the second paragraph is the body. This is kind of where you make the connection between what they're looking for and your qualifications. So how do your skills match what they're applying for? So there's different formats you can use. You can use the paragraph form where you're just writing. You can use what's called a bullet form, or what we call a T format. So here's an example of a business development role and the second paragraph. So currently I'm pursuing an MBA at Simon Fraser University. A combination of my business knowledge and 3 years experience in B2B sales will strengthen my ability to support your company's vision of increasing its market share over the next 5 years. Again, they've done their research. They saw that that's kind of what they're wanting to do, or a goal of the company. So they put that in. And then they say, I have an appetite for challenging situations and I have a proven record of exceeding expectations. In my previous position at FedEx, I doubled the target number of new clients within the first 4 weeks on the job. I have a similar record of achievement as a franchisee for College Pro Painting, where I independently brought on board 10 patrons and successfully increased the number of painting contracts by 50% year over year. Again, this was written by an MBA student. So you can kind of see that they're talking a little bit about their accomplishments, but also their interest in the position by itself. This is kind of the bullet format. So what you want to do then is you want to find out what are the key skills that they're looking for in the posting. And now you're going to find that from the job posting. So what is it, the key skills they're looking for in the role? And what you're going to do is you're going to list those key skills, and it could be 3 or 4. List the key skills and then explain a key accomplishment or how you match that key skill. So for example, here's a product specialist position. Again, this was written by an MBA. I just changed a few things. So in the job posting, it said that they're looking for someone with sales excellence and someone who can look at data or data analytics. And they're also looking for someone who can do market analysis and process improvement. So they picked out that these were the top skills that the position was looking for. And then they kind of wrote about, okay, how do I meet those skills, or how do I match those skills? So the sales excellence at Johnson & Johnson, I was in charge of sales of medical devices in 4 key account hospitals where the firm had relatively low market share. I compiled extensive quantitative sales data for Johnson & Johnson versus competitors, allowing me to allocate resources to key industry targets more efficiently. Under my supervision, the market share of J&J products increased from 40% in 2009 to 95% in 2013. So again, they're talking about their background in sales and data, and then listing some key accomplishments. Market analysis. As a product specialist, I led the initiative to design and develop sales tools and to apply market segmentation analysis. Under Johnson & Johnson's flagship professional education program, I provided 80 clinical trainings to 1,000 clients on the latest medical concepts, and I achieved 24% annual sales growth in 2009, 2010, 37% in 2011, 2012, and was awarded a national top sales achiever. And then the last one, process improvement. I was responsible for promoting more than 300 products. To cover such a wide product spectrum, it was vital to manage inventory and maintain healthy relationships with distributors. I analyzed the current system and procedures and designed a new system and communication procedure for all my key accounts in order to optimize the inventory management. This led to an 8% deduction in distributor costs. So again, what they've done is they've taken the key skills that from the job posting and then how they match that skill. Any questions on kind of that bullet format? And the last one's kind of what we call the T format, which is similar to the bullet format. What you're doing is, you're looking at what are their requirements and what are your qualifications. And then you just kind of put it in a T format or a T box. So their requirements, bachelor's degree with minimum 5 years sales experience. Then you can talk about your experience, or experience in medical device diagnostic sector with strong knowledge of medical distribution. Again, how this person matched what they're looking for. So again, you're looking at the key skills from the job posting and then how you match your qualifications, okay? So there's not necessarily, one that's better than the other. I think that if the position requires a lot of writing, or if you think there's going to be writing, then maybe the paragraph form is better. The other two are a little bit cleaner to read, but there's not a right and wrong. It's just how you feel. Sometimes when I've applied for positions, I've used different formats of cover letter, just depending on the role. So any questions on kind of the second paragraph? So it's a key piece of how your qualifications and your achievements match what the employer is looking for. And just the closing paragraph. So reaffirm that you're a good match for the position, ask for the interview, request the opportunity to discuss your qualifications further, and thanking the reader, obviously. So just a simple follow-up or last paragraph, my business acumen, up-to-date knowledge of technology, and wide range of experience in sales will contribute to my success as the director of sales. I would welcome the opportunity to meet in person to discuss my experience and value I can offer to you. And then just put your contact information again. And just signature, you can digitally sign it, or if you print it out, just manually sign it. And then if you put enclosure at the bottom of your bottom of the cover letter just means you're including your resume with your cover letter. So just a few things to remember. You should send a cover letter 100% of the time, unless otherwise stated. Address it to the hiring manager if possible. Keep it to 1 page, okay? Do not write 2-page cover letters because no one has the time to read 2-page cover letters. Always target your cover letter just like your resume. Keep it succinct. Don't tell your entire work history, okay? And don't forget to do spell and grammar check. Any questions on kind of what we've talked about in terms of that piece, the first piece, the cover letter? Iffy.
Hi. So my question is, I know you say 1 page, but you know sometimes 1 page can really be packed in terms of like the font size. So what is the recommended font size for a cover letter?
Same like your resume. The minimum size is 10.
Okay.
And the maximum is 12. So okay. But yeah, that's where you have to be really succinct, because if you write too much, like anytime, we've received applications when people are applying for positions in our team, if there's so much text, you don't even want to read it, right? So you have to be really careful to be as succinct as possible in your writing. And that's why sometimes the paragraph form can look very busy, whereas the other formats like the bullet format or the T format's a little bit cleaner. So that's why sometimes it's easier to read. Okay. Any other questions before we move to the next part? No? Okay. Now I'm going to show you a tool called JobScan, and I'll send you a link to it after the workshop today. And essentially the link will give you 10 free scans. If you share your link with someone else, you'll get 10 free scans as well. So once I share mine and you create your account, then there'll be a link there where you can share yours with friends. And if they sign up, then you'll get 10 more free. This JobScan is it's not an SFU account. It's just a public account. So they do have paid if you want to pay as well. So I'll show you what it looks like. So it's called jobscan.co. Oh, I lost it here. Let me go back and grab it. Okay. Okay, so it's called jobscan.co. And what it does is, if you post the job description and then you post your resume, and this is, we're going to talk a little bit both about targeting your cover letter and targeting your resume. So what happens is you're going to upload a resume. So I'm just going to copy and paste a student from 2015. I'm just going to paste their resume in the job posting here. Okay, and then I'm going to take the job description and I'm going to post that as well. So I grabbed one from Groundswell Solution, and they're looking for a project manager. So Groundswell Solution is a consulting firm where they've hired 2 or 3 of our students. One sec here. So I just pulled this as they're looking for somebody right now. Okay. So then you post your resume, and then you post the job description, and then you scan it. And then what it's doing, it's looking for keywords from the job posting and keywords on your resume, okay? So it's saying right now you have a 26% match in terms of what they're looking for and what's on your resume. And that's why it's really important that you need to target your resume with the keywords that are on the job posting. So what it's saying here, these are some of the hard skills that are on your resume and or that are or are not on your resume that are on the job description, okay? So coaching is on the job description, but it's not on your resume. They've used the word technology, they've used the word consulting. On the job description, they talk about sales, project management, account management, which this person doesn't have anything on their resume. So what you want to do is you want to go back and say, okay, how are these words being used? So go back to the job description. And just, if you put it in a Word document, just use the find, type in the word sales and see how the word sales is being used, or how the skills is being used, or project management. How is project management being used in the job description? Then what you can do is you can start targeting your cover letter and your resume based on what they're looking for, right? So if we look here, maybe consulting is one of the key skills that you want to include in your cover letter, because it comes up 4 times, or project management comes up twice, right? Or account management or sales. So maybe those are the 3 skills. Maybe it's coaching, or maybe it's consulting, maybe it's project management, and maybe it's sales. So maybe those are the 3 in your bullets. If you're using a bullet form, maybe those are the 3 that you want to highlight. Okay. If you go down, these are some of the other skills that are on the job description, and these are more of the soft skills. So these are the hard skills. And these are more of the soft skills. So they're looking for someone with passion, teamwork, innovative, collaboration, program coordinator, anything like that. So again, go back to the job posting and see how are these words being used. And then you can include those on your cover letter if you like, right? And then some other keywords as well. Okay. Now, how this results in targeting your resume, so you understand how you can pick out kind of the 3 or 4 key skills and include those in your cover letter. How do you use this now to target your resume? Well, we talk about, I'm going to stop sharing here, and I'm going to bring up this other screen. So let's just say this is another person's resume that I just brought up. Okay. So this student was from India, and let's say this person wants to target their resume. So the keywords in that job posting were project management, sales, consultant. So maybe consultancy. So what you're going to do then is under each of your positions, and I've worked with most of you on kind of your foundational resume. So you already may have some bullets related to project management, to sales, anything like that. But if you don't, then you want to add them in. So when you look at your resume and then you go to the job posting, what you're going to do is you're going to list the skills under the position you feel where you have that most experience. So let's just say project management. Let's say here, project management was a key skill that I used in this position. Then the next one, let's say, was sales. Oh, I did a lot of sales in this position here, right? And then the other one was, let's just say, I can't remember what it was. Was it business development? We'll just say that. So whatever from the posting. And then there was another one under teamwork. So let's say you did a lot of teamwork here, okay? Or let's say the other posting, the posting said communication, which is, let's say you did a lot of communication there. So then what you're going to do is you're going to write an accomplishment statement based on the skill that they're looking for. So you can include the word project management, you can include the word sales, or you can include the word communication. So what you're doing then is you're breaking out where each of those skills is based on your past experiences. And what you can do on your resume is you can bold those keywords that they're looking for. Okay, so they stand out. So what you're doing then is you're targeting your resume based on the job posting. Again, you're wanting to make sure that those keywords are in there just in case, number one, they're using an applicant tracking system, which we talked about a little bit. Where it's matching, it's seeing how many of your keywords match the job posting, but it's also helping them to see, okay, if you bold the keyword, then they can see that that's what you have, the skill you have. Vincent, you had a question?
Yeah, thank you. One thing I wonder about the keyword tracking is whether it's like, is it better to use, which form of the word should you use, like the title form or the role form? So, you know, project management, product manager, right?
Mhm.
Or consultant, or okay, consultant's a little bit different, but like, for example, project management versus project manager or
Yeah.
project manage,
Mhm.
right? So if you're doing an action version, like project managed, yada, 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 right?
Mhm.
So do all of those mean the same to a system that's picking up keywords? I know like somebody's just reading it, then it's all the same.
Right.
But you know, computers are not quite as smart as people. So
Yeah, no, if you can, try and use the same wording that they have in the posting, because it'll only pick up those keywords. It won't, like project manager and project management are two different things, right? Because project manager is more of a title, whereas project management could be an action of what you've done, right? So I would try and use the exact word.
like project managed, right? So
Yeah, I think that would be okay if you use project managed, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
Okay. So if in doubt, just use
But if you
whatever
can use the
in
same wording, I would try and use the same wording just to be safe.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on kind of how to target your resume? So like I said, I'm working with most of you on kind of your foundational resume. But when you're targeting your resume, always go back and look at the job posting, use JobScan to see what skills they're looking for. You don't even need to use JobScan. You could just go to the job posting and highlight the keywords instead of using JobScan. If you wanted to just highlight the key skills so you know what the keywords are, and then do what I've done here under all your positions. Think about, okay, where have I used that skill, and just list it first. You already, as again, during our resume review, you may already have, may already included accomplishment on project management or teamwork or something like that. So you may not need to do it, or you may not need to add something, right? And remember, your resume, you can always add and delete accomplishment statements. So the ones that we've worked on are based on kind of what you've told me. But when you think about it, you can always delete accomplishments, and you can always add accomplishment or achievements. Just remember that more is not better on a resume. So you don't always want to include everything. So don't throw the kitchen sink on your resume, because it's just too busy, right? You want to be as targeted as possible, okay? Which means if there's only 3 key skills that are under a certain position, but they target that specific posting, then that's better than putting 8 skills that are not relevant at all, or 2 of the 8 that are relevant, okay? Because you really want to focus your resume on the posting. So a lot of students say, well, I've changed the cover letter, but I use the same resume. Definitely can't do that. Okay, you have to change the cover letter and the resume. So that's why it's a little bit challenging, because looking for work is definitely full-time work, right? Especially when you're trying to write targeted cover letters and resumes. So it takes a bit of time. So that's why if you can, if you're targeting specific industries, so let's just say you're targeting, a specific position in the IT industry, you're targeting a specific position in another industry, you may want to have 2 different versions, right, of your resume, just so you don't have to scramble. You can try and just change those resumes a little bit to target it to those 2 areas, okay, 2 or 3 areas. So you may have 2 or 3 different versions of your resume based on what you're applying for, okay. Any questions, what we've talked about? This wasn't a long workshop, it was just a short one today. So anything on the cover letters or how to target your resume or anything like that?
I have more of a comment. I just find that if you're applying for 50 jobs or more, tailoring your resume and your cover letter to every single employer, like that's just, I'm worried about the time commitment that is required for something like this.
Yeah.
And especially because it's not an exaggeration, many people will send out 100, cover letters and resumes,
Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
struggle with that.
Yeah, I understand the frustration for sure and the timing. But the shotgun approach doesn't work. Okay. Does everyone know what the shotgun approach is? What is that? Whoever knows. What do I mean when I say the shotgun approach?
Well, is it just a generic cover letter and resume that you send out to everybody?
Yeah. Yeah, you send the same cover letter, the same resume for every position. Okay. I've had people who've done it, like, because I work on, I mean, not just working with students, I do some contract work in career coaching. And, I had a person who they sent out 100 plus, but using the same application, obviously, for the same one. Once we started talking and he started targeting, it made a huge difference in terms of the number of interviews he was getting. He may have gotten 1 out of the 120 he sent out, but after we talked about how to target and targeting his cover letter and resume, that percentage went up to 10 or 15%, which is still a lot better than 0.5% or whatever percentage that is. So the shotgun approach doesn't work. Now, I know the timing is really tough for, especially when you're a full-time student. That's why you really want to target positions that you're very interested in, especially at the beginning. Be a little bit picky because it's going to take some time. So take the time to write a good cover letter and a targeted resume. It doesn't guarantee you're going to get an interview, but it definitely helps in terms of giving you more of a chance to get an interview, right? So Andre, I do understand the challenge for sure. But as I said, the shotgun approach doesn't work. Okay. Or rarely works. I won't say it doesn't, it just rarely works. Okay. Now, I'm not saying you can't use the same. Let's just say you're targeting a business analyst position, and if the business analyst, the job position is very similar between 2 different ones you've applied for, sure, you can use the same resume, that's fine. Then definitely just change the cover letter in terms of targeting it to why you want to work for that company, what stands out for you in that company, right? So, at minimum, if the positions are similar, you can use the same resume, but definitely change the cover letter in terms of the first paragraph anyways, about what they're looking for or why you want to work for the company. Okay. Good point though. Any other comments or questions?
I have another question, Doug. Hope you don't mind.
Nope.
When should we start? Like, when's an ideal time to start sending out resumes and cover letters to employers for us?
Yeah, good question. Other than the positions that say, they've hired a year ahead, most companies, they may take a few months for the entire process. So I would probably say at the end of May, you should start actively applying, because that's about a 3-month window, June, July, 2.5 month window. So I'd probably say at the end of May, you start actively applying for positions. Because even if you apply now, most companies aren't going to wait 5 months, right? Unless it's a very specific position and you have a very specific skill set. Normally a couple months ahead is good, 2.5 months. And normally what happens is I'll start receiving, because I'll reach out to employers. I usually reach out to employers in mid-May to say, okay, I have a new group of students who'll be ready mid-August. If you have, internship postings, then let's connect. And so a lot of times they'll start sending their postings in mid-June or June, all of June, July, and August, they'll start sending me their internship postings or full-time postings, and then I will forward them to you. And normally we would collect applications for them. Sometimes they want to receive resumes or applications directly, but a lot of times you'll see them come from me. Okay. Any other questions? David?
Doc, yeah, just I noticed when you apply some jobs on LinkedIn, the company are using like third parties platform. When you click on reply, then redirect to a third party platform. There's no place for you to upload the current letter. Maybe just allow you to also extract the information from your CV to collect information. In that case, how should we deal with that situation?
Great, good question. Actually, there's a couple of things I want to address there. So when you find a posting on LinkedIn, don't hit the apply via LinkedIn, okay? What you want to do is you want to go to the company website and see if that job is actually there, and then apply on the company website. So don't apply with your LinkedIn profile, because remember, your LinkedIn account is not the same as your resume, or it shouldn't be, right? Remember, your resume is a lot more in depth than your LinkedIn profile. So don't use the apply button on LinkedIn. Go to the company webpage, find the posting, and apply directly to there. That's the first part. The second one was, if there's no place for a cover letter, always just include your cover letter and resume as one PDF, right? Because sometimes if there's like if you're sending your application, if you're emailing an application, I would still do the same thing. Just make it as one PDF rather than sending it as a separate one. That way it won't get lost, right? If you send it as one. If some companies say apply online, and then they'll have a job portal, right, where they'll say upload your resume. So as long as you've created one PDF with your cover letter and resume, you can upload it as one document.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, good question. Thank you. Other questions?
Hey Doug, I have a question.
Yes.
Just like a follow-up on Andrew's question on applications for internship.
Yeah.
When we're applying, are we supposed to target internship positions or full-time positions, or both?
Both. It doesn't matter. We'll talk a little. I'm going to run a workshop on just the whole internship, but just to give you a brief, you can find a formal internship, or you can find a contract position that's 4 months or longer, or you can find a full-time permanent position, and all you're doing is you're using the first 4 months to fulfill the internship requirement. So you should be looking for all of those, right? Formal internships, contract work, or full-time permanent positions. Now, just be aware, and I know it's kind of, some students said, well, I'm not really interested in contract work. A lot of companies now hire first on contract, just to see how you do, because then there's no commitment, right? If you have a 5-month contract, number one, they probably don't have to pay you benefits, so it saves them money, and it's kind of a trial period for them, so they can opt out at any time. So don't be afraid to apply for contracts, because a lot of times the contract positions or short-term positions will move into full-time positions. Okay. And that's what I've actually heard from quite a few employers, is that they're now offering more contract positions. So it does save them money in terms of that. Vincent?
Well, I just wanted to say something on that. Mat leave postings are often 1-year contracts, and they're a great way in the door as well. So it might lead to another position. Oddly enough, a lot of times people don't come back from mat leaves, and so then they turn to full-time. Like I've actually had that happen twice, where I applied for a mat leave position and then it turned into full-time because they either didn't come back or they found a different job that worked for their lifestyle better. That had yeah, and they're often listed as contract positions first, but they're 1-year contract, which is great.
Yeah, no, great point for sure. Yeah, a lot of times the mat leave positions, the person doesn't come back or they found another job. So definitely don't be afraid to apply for those as well. And a lot of times, like once you're in the company, like I said, if you're working contract and you're doing a good job, they're going to want to keep you, right? Obviously, if they have the budget, they want to keep you. So, there may be internal opportunities that are only open to internal candidates. Especially, for example, like if you get into like the healthcare system, like PHSA or VCH, a lot of times they want to hire on contract first. And then once you're in and you can access the internal job board, right, that you can't see if you're an external candidate.
Hey, Doug, I have a question.
Hi, Summer.
For the internship, co-op, full-time work, is there a date that we need to be in a position by?
Yeah, as long as you find something by, so you end mid-August. If you find something by the second week of January, you'll still be able to graduate in June.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So essentially you have from mid-August until the second week of January to secure something in order to graduate in June.
Okay, but ideally we would start September probably.
Yeah, ideally, if you start in the fall sometime, that's the best scenario in terms of, having money come in.
Paying bills.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But it doesn't always, usually, and, when I look at the past data, it's usually about 50%, 50 to 60% may find something like right in mid-August or right at the beginning of September, whereas other students will find things later September, October, November. So don't be too stressed if you haven't found something, right at the end of August or right at the beginning of September.
Okay, great. Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
Doug, sorry, quick question on the use of the title MBA.
Yeah.
So currently, can we use the title MBA like post-August, or we should still go with MBA candidate until June next year?
Officially, you can't use MBA until you have convocated or graduated. So that is essentially in June is when you can use MBA. So you're not an MBA until you officially graduate. Now, after you've done your internship, I think it's fine because nobody knows, when your convocation is anyway. So I think once you've done your internship, then you've fulfilled all the requirements, then you could probably just use MBA after that. But officially, it's not supposed to be until June. But I know lots of students put MBA after they've done their internship.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Doug.
Hi, Gina.
Can I ask a question? So, for the internship to complete the internship, do we need any employers reference or what supporting we need to provide to prove that we already finished the 4 months job?
Yeah, so what happens is you'll fill out a form for me that lists all the information on the internship or the position, and that includes the employer information. And what I do is I usually do a midpoint check after 2 months just to see how things are going. And at the end of 4 months, there's a formal evaluation that they need to complete, which takes them about 15 minutes. And then on your end, there's a self-reflection report that you need to finish, and that takes about an hour on your side.
Okay. So my question is, if I target for a permanent job,
yeah,
do I need to explain that to my employer? My school will check my work, or do they need to fulfill something?
Yeah, if it's a permanent full-time position, you just let them know that, as part of the MBA program, there's a work term requirement. And it's 4 months, and I'm using the first 4 months of this position to fulfill the work term requirement. And all they need to do is they just need to fill out, like I said, a 15-minute evaluation at the end of 4 months. Most employers, I haven't had any employers who said, no, I'm not going to do that. Employers are fine with it.
Oh, okay, great, thanks.
Okay. Alexander, did you have a question? You unmuted yourself.
Yes. Yeah, I have a question. When we look for the internships of full-time position, I know like LinkedIn and Indeed. Is there any other one we should look for jobs, or only these two?
Those are probably two of the best, is LinkedIn and Indeed. That's where I would look for positions. If you're looking for, nonprofit jobs, there's what's called charityvillage.com, where you can look for specific nonprofit jobs. And I'll put it in the chat here. That's where nonprofits can post positions. And there's quite a few in terms of project managers, program coordinators, lots of different types of positions. If you're looking for business development, if you're looking for fundraising opportunities. Great, yeah, Vancouver's job postings. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you.
But what I would do is, if you remember, I would follow companies and follow HR people in those companies and follow hiring managers in those companies, because they post on LinkedIn. So a lot of times you'll see, and I follow a lot of HR and I follow a lot of recruiters, and a lot of times you'll see postings that they're sending out, we're hiring for this role, we're hiring for this role, right? So definitely follow the HR people and the recruiters and the companies that you're targeting. And if you can, try and find managers, because a lot of times the managers will put in their LinkedIn picture, I'm hiring. So definitely follow them as well, because you never know who's posting. Any other questions? No? Okay. So I will send you the job scan link where you'll get 10 free scans. Again, if you create an account and you share it with friends and they sign up, you'll get 10 more for everyone who signs up. So it's actually good for you if you can get your friends to sign up as well. And then I'll also send you, I'll send you some cover letter samples as well. Okay. Great. Well, thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time. If you have other questions, I'll stick around for a little bit. Otherwise, have a great weekend.